Simone Biles is focusing on her mental health after withdrawing from tomorrow's individual all-around competition. The four-time Olympic gold medalist made the decision one day after she removed herself from the team final. Biles will now be evaluated daily before deciding if she'll compete in the other individual events. So for more on this and all the other Olympic news, Jamie Yuccas is joining us from Tokyo. So Jamie, what has the reaction been like in Tokyo about Biles' decision?
Well, I have to tell you, we even heard from Katie Ledecky, another superstar, big name here at the Olympics, right? And she said that she hopes that Simone Biles continues to focus on her mental health and does what's right for her. That's pretty much the sentiment that you're hearing from other athletes. They're proud of her. They think that this was a tremendous amount of strength to show, that she was able to say, you know what, I need a timeout, I need a pause, I need to reevaluate what I'm doing here. Many athletes also pointing out in the gymnastics world that, you know, your mental health and physical health are really tied together, especially in that sport where there is such a little sliver room for error that you could really hurt yourself. And I think that's what we potentially saw when she did that vault. She came down, she had that look on her face. She did not like how she landed. That's one thing, that you don't like how you performed. But I think you could see, some sports psychologists we talked to said you could see that, you know, she also was struggling because if those two don't match, you don't know how you're going to perform the rest of the event, which means you could potentially get hurt. And talking to that sports psychologist today as well, you know, we really learned that this shows that our superheroes can be human. And I think that's what a lot of people are taking away from this, that even Simone Biles, who really, in the grand scheme of things, is still the best in the world when it comes to gymnastics. She doesn't have that much to prove, that she's incredible at her sport. If she's saying, you know what, I've been through a lot in my life, especially, you know, she's a sexual assault survivor by her trainer, Larry Nassar. She was somebody who grew up in foster care, was adopted by her grandparents. She's overcome so much that if this is the time that she says, I need a timeout, people seem to be supporting it. And beyond the sports world, Anne-Marie, I can tell you even Michelle Obama tweeted her support to Simone Biles and saying that we're still rooting for you, but we have your back.
Jamie, I'm so glad that you brought up the team doctor Larry Nassar abuse situation, because, you know, it took Simone Biles a while to admit that she had also been a victim. You know, other gymnasts had come forward, and you could tell it was a really tough thing for her to admit to. And then we, you know, have to remember that these athletes have been trying to stay at sort of peak Olympic level performance for an extra year longer than they normally would have because of the delay. And then, you know, all the stuff that comes with COVID. This is not, you know, the only world-class athlete that has said that they're really sort of feeling the pressure, particularly when it comes to this game. Naomi Osaka cited the pressure for the reason why, you know, she lost, and it was pretty shocking that she did. Can you just, I'm wondering if you know whether or not there are supports in place for these athletes. They don't have their typical support system with them. We talked about how Simone Biles doesn't have her parents and how she really sort of leans into them during these sort of competitions. Is there anything in place there to make sure that these athletes are okay?
Well, the IOC, a spokesman for the IOC, came out and said that there are, and that they were supporting Simone Biles. You know, there are trainers, there are sports psychologists, there are all those people who are part of the team. I can tell you the one thing we have noticed when we've gone into the venues themselves is that the athletes are able to speak to their friends, their family, their parents through Zoom. So it's not a perfect situation. You don't have your parents right there in the stands, but they are using the technology to try to connect the athletes with their loved ones before and after their events, which, again, you know, it doesn't make up for mom and dad being in the stands, but it is something. You know, I think it's one of those things here that everyone knew it was going to be a challenge. But when you look specifically at Simone Biles as well, she's somebody who said that she was planning to retire after the Olympics. It then gets delayed a year. I think even that psychologically, when you have in your mind, I'm going to be done with something, the chapter is going to be closed, and then you have to continue to train, you have to continue to be a part, you know, of this world and move forward. I think it's a lot of pressure to then come here, and it's not what anybody thought it was going to be. I think by this point in time, we thought, okay, people will be vaccinated, there could be some crowds, there could be parents in the stand. None of that's happening. So anything that you trained for and that you anticipated, or maybe your expectations were a little bit higher, that we'd be out of this a little bit more, they're just not there.
all great points. Listen, I applaud her. I think it's a good example for a lot of other people to sort of take a break sometimes, take a mental health break, because no one's going to tell you to. So you got to do it yourself. And she's still the best in the world as far as I'm concerned. Jamie Yuccas, thank you very much.